But yeah, I mean, every business has their own pros and cons. But yeah, I believe talking to the stakeholders in their language, convincing them in their language is the most important aspect, which defines the success or a failure of any project.
Today on the Positive Habits podcast, we've got Ankush Sharma, who is the CEO of DataToBiz. Hi, Ankush. How are you?
Hi, Jan. I'm good. Thank you for having me here. It's always nice to connect with you.
Thank you so much. Well, listen, I was checking out your website the other day, and I think that just for the plug, I think it's DataToBiz.com. Is that right? So it says on there, we're obsessed with helping businesses like yours make sense of their data to achieve real results. So let's start with that. What does that mean in your own words?
No, absolutely, Jan. So as our brand name says, DataToBiz. So we are connecting businesses' data with business, to gain some competitive insights out of whatever data they have generated. Though this concept was not that much fancy, I would say 10-15 years ago, but with the advent of technology, with the advent of cloud computing, with the advent of high network options available, so there is a lot of data that's being gathered at every level within a business. Yeah. So, this is a new way of leading a company, how to make decisions that are backed by data at any level, be it at the management level, be it at the team lead level, be it at the manufacturing, logistics, any department you might be having. So you want to be driven by some thoughts, right? So either that you can get those ideas planted by God, or you can take the ideas from the data that is being generated. So that's what we do. Actually, we empower businesses to take their decisions backed by data.
And Ankush, what is your personal background to start this business? And what problem were you in your head when you started this thing? I mean, right. It fascinates me when entrepreneurs get started off in their own business. It's like, I could do anything. I'm going to do this. Sure. What was your position at the time, and what inspired you to get into this?
Sure. No, definitely that's a question that I kept on asking by many people. And to be honest, I don't have a very fancy answer. It was not a eureka moment that happened to me. So if I tell a bit about myself, so actually I have done my bachelor's in computer science. So I am more into the core programming, databases, doing logics, solving them through programming, and also that was my core forte when I passed out from my college. So after that, I worked in a couple of organizations into their technology team. Yeah. So then, before starting DataToBiz, I joined a startup in my region only. So it was more sort of an early age startup. They were more into the auto rickshaw aggregator space, just like Ola and Uber. So that company was, I would say 15-20 when I joined in terms of headcount, but they were very much data driven in the way they take their decisions. So everything, right from managing their demand, managing their supply, managing their, inventory. So everything was very much data driven. So that was the very first time I got encountered, with the power of data and what value it can add for a lot of businesses. So what if I took it outside these premises and all, right?
Yeah.
And moreover, while I was in that company, so second thing happened is I worked closely with many teams. Earlier I was just working as a techie, but in that company I worked in many departments, many people. So you get to know the flavor of how teams work, how companies work. And thirdly, there is always a kind of bug, you can say, in me, like I want to do something on my own. So I found, that was a perfect time of all these three things coming together, where you find your niche in terms of what you can do, what you're capable of, then what you want to do, plus the exposure of how it has to be done. So that is where DataToBiz got started, with a very primary idea of working as a consulting based business, helping other organizations into their data, machine learning and AI related problem statements. But then in the last 6-7 years, so journey has been, you can say, full of ups and downs. And yes, we have always grown as an organization, as a vision, as a team, as a strategy in the last 7 years. But yeah, that was the point how it got started, and that's how DataToBiz came into the picture.
Now, I mentioned before the call, one of the things I love about your business, Ankush, is the atmosphere of the business, the culture of the business, because it's a very progressive, engaged business, isn't it? How has that happened? How has that come about?
When I started DataToBiz, I just had a couple of years of corporate experience. So to be honest, I have not seen how corporate experiences work, what kind of cultures there are. So it's kind of, unknown to me. But I've always believed a culture of an organization is always a reflection of the culture or thought processes of the co-founders. The way you are as a co-founder, that is what kind of culture you want to create out of it, right? Or automatically it gets created that way. So I believe in our case, I have been lucky. Whatever I feel, whatever I think about core life values and all that stuff, so we have been able to factor in within the current organizational culture. So we have never taken ourselves like we'll be a very hierarchy driven organization, or where I am the CEO, no one can talk to me, or no idea can be higher than my idea. So it has been a very humble atmosphere for everyone. Even an intern can come to me and question or give ideas. Yeah, I mean, it's all about what I believe, what my co-founder believes in. So we just keeps on working that way. And culture is just a byproduct of how actually, as the co-founders, you guys work.
Got it. Now, just on the subject of data, let's just step back to that in a minute. And the fact that lots of companies have got lots of systems now. They've probably got more data than they want in some respects, but hardly any of it's reusable or useful. And I think what we've seen over this last 2 or 3 years is department managers are getting more influential in their decisions on IT. Of course, they can't solve these problems around data, can they? So, how are you experiencing that yourself when you're talking to customers?
So basically, in terms of solutioning or empowering people, there can be multiple architectures how you want to do it. There can always be a centralized data architecture where all the requests, all the queries, all the department owners are coming to a single platform and getting their queries served. Or there can be a functional role-driven architecture where there is no centralized architecture for resolving the queries, but it's more like at the department level, we have created certain data marts and data solutions. So I believe it's, for me, data-driven transformation is never a technological shift or just a technological shift. It's always a cultural shift as well. If your people want to take it that way, where they are curious, they want to dive into the data, they want to take insights out of it, they will implement a different type of solution. On the other hand, where it's a top-down driven approach, where management is pushing for, let's start looking at this KPI, let's start looking at that dashboard. Then in those cases, obviously, centralized system makes more sense. But it's always, specific to every company, every client we work with, and factoring in their culture, their people, their current processes, their current problems. So that's how we design a very specific data architecture for them. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is same. Everyone has to be empowered by data. The means can always be different. The technology stack can always be different. The tools can be different. But yes, the empowerment has to be there, and that's what we actually take a pride in doing the same.
Right, so in terms of the business model that you're adopting, Ankush, you're not going to somebody and saying, here's our product for data mangling. You're basically going to them, I guess, and saying, tell us what your problem is and we'll put a proposal around it. Is that how that's working?
I would say, yes, that used to be our business model in the very initial years of the business, because we were the technical people, we were the data experts, and then we asked people, okay, what problems you were facing, how we can help you and all. But then, as you serve multiple people in specific industries, so you start understanding the common patterns in those industries, right? So right now, as an organization, we are keeping our focus very high on 3 key verticals: manufacturing, retail, and logistics. So now, while you serve multiple customers in the same domain, so you get to know, what are the typical kind of problem statements, right? So then, like our role or our business model as an organization is not like we are not selling a product, but it's more like a custom-led implementation, which is driven by starting by the problem statement, understanding, the data discovery sessions or business discovery sessions, then taking a very customized approach, proposing a solution. And in the solutioning, we can always use existing platforms. We have so much good technologies these days. Azure is doing a lot of progress. AWS is doing a lot of progress. Similarly, in the AI, ML, BI space. So I believe the world is never short of technology. It's always about fitting the right pieces at the right point in time, solving the right problem. So that's what our key focus is as an organization.
Got it. So in some respects, you're accelerating the deliverables and you're reducing the risk by actually framing out some particular problem statements and use case scenarios that you've got in 3 major industries.
So in some cases, yes, we are accelerating, the journeys for those people. But in some of the cases, we are also opening new frontiers for those people, because whenever any business person is operating a business, obviously data activity is not a primary activity for that person. Like he might have his own worldview, how to drive the things and all. but we give them the perspective, okay, this is also an area which you can leverage and this is how it will help you and all. So it's both ways. We are also accelerating in some of the cases, but in some of the cases we're opening new frontiers for people.
Yeah. You must have some bugbears with the clients though, because sometimes they do drive you crazy, don't they? I mean, I used to always go and speak to senior officers and they'd say, I just want a dashboard. And you're just thinking, that sounds so easy. I just want a dashboard. But actually behind the scenes, the data was just not there. Are you seeing this as well then? That I guess when I look at the data models of companies, they're very unclean, I think it'd be fair to say. I mean, I've seen examples where when you've got people using systems in a particular way for their own business, they don't fill out the forms properly, so there's lots of data missing. There's probably connections missing between different data sets. And I guess in some of these things as well, like customer records, you find out that every system's got its own customer record and they're all completely different. So, are we getting better as an industry at solving those sorts of back office problems, do you think?
So that's a pretty good question, Ian. And I believe, any data project, 50-60% problem is just for the data. Data is not clean, it is not structured in a good way, it's not kept in a proper way. So that's the bare minimum problem every project does have. But yes, with the awareness, that is happening at every level in every industry, I would say, with the advent of AI and data-driven technology. So yes, people have started investing their focus to make the systems ready, because it's always about setting up the right bases and then build some advanced systems on top of it. So let me tell you a very interesting story. So actually, when we started back in 2018, so we came out of a company which were having very good data infrastructures, and we were like, we are the best data scientists in the world, we can help any organization, we can make them use AI and all. So we were very much focused on AI. But then when we came out of that company, we talked to few initial customers, we realized, okay, if AI is the fourth level, the organization is not at the first level as of now, because they are not data savvy. They don't know how to manage their data. So obviously it took last 6-7 years in terms of spreading that awareness, in terms of connecting to the right people, understanding their current journeys, and then accordingly define a roadmap for every organization. Obviously their current data infrastructure, their current data status is one of the core decision makers that help us to define that journey. But with time, people are now getting a lot more aware about the value of data and how it can help them. And yes, as an industry, I would say we are uplifting ourselves, but still, there are many organizations out there which still don't think about it, but it's just a matter of time, I believe. With every passing year, every passing decade, things will definitely get better.
Yeah, got it. So listen, let's take this back to your engagement approach with clients. So I'm a client, I know I've got data all over the place. I know there's some specific quick wins I've got in the back of my head that I want to do. What is your engagement approach? How do you approach that client and say, this is what we're going to do?
So basically, we have two types of customers primarily. So first set of customers are the ones who actually know what their problem or pain points are. They might not be knowing how it will be solved with the data, which dashboard has to look at, which data technology to be used, but they know broadly, like I want to improvise my sales, then maybe these are the lower level data points I want to monitor. So for those kind of customers, obviously the initial time frame of understanding their problems, convincing them is a bit lesser, because they already are convinced they want to do it. So our role is more about understanding their business problems on a high level, and then clubbing it with their IT infrastructure, with their data infrastructure, and then define a solution roadmap for them. But then there are a second set of customers which don't know about data, and they are not even ready to listen you. So in that case, obviously the initial hurdle of getting into the business, getting into the company is a bit higher, because we have to first convince the people, we have to educate them, we have to show them the past case studies for the similar organizations in the similar industry, what value we have added and all. So yeah, I mean in that case as well, once things get started, then it takes its own course of time. But in the second case, usually it takes a bit longer time. But our approach is more or less same in both the cases, which is more like consulting-led implementation. We understand the client's problem, we understand their data assets, we understand their current state, and then we propose a customized roadmap for their solution by using the existing technologies out there.
Got it. So in terms of what I'm seeing here is there's a bit of a blend, isn't there? Because on the one hand, there's got to be a problem to solve for these organizations. And as you say, probably 1 in every 2 or 3 doesn't really use data culturally correct at the moment. So I guess what you're doing is you're actually advising them not just on how to use the data, but you're advising them on the benefits of becoming data driven as a culture.
Absolutely. So that is one of the pains in the business we are into right now. Like, we need to educate people. But yeah, I mean, every business has their own pros and cons. But yeah, I believe talking to the stakeholders in their language, convincing them in their language is the most important aspect, which defines the success or a failure of any project, because that other person won't understand SQL, that other person won't understand Power BI. So I have to talk in a very business sense to that guy. And I believe that is where our expertise is. Because as the co-founders, we have a lot more experience. Plus, we have the domain-specific business analyst people on our team. So who can talk to the business owners in the business language. And once they are convinced, then we start diving into the technology piece of it.
Got it. One of the things that always, I think, strikes me about this industry, Ankush, is the fact that maybe people are asking for the wrong things, or they're expecting the wrong outcome. Because I think a lot of people that are buying data solutions are looking for a dashboard, and very often I think the dashboard is actually the last thing that you should be asking about. It's really, because I remember there was a company I was working with that was looking at reporting data. And all of their managers were busy looking at dashboards. It was costing them a fortune to go through manual analysis of dashboard data. And of course, people are now saying in the industry, actually, the dashboard is dead, because if we can actually predict something, or if we can anticipate something, we just need to act on that data. Where are you on that journey that the dashboard is dead nowadays?
That's an interesting question, Ian. So you're right. First of all, a lot of businesses do have the wrong expectations. I'll not take the dashboarding context, but a lot of companies do ask, okay, implement this AI technology for me, but their base data infrastructure is not ready. Or they are having the wrong expectations from AI, like this will do 100% this task, 90% this task. But at the end of the day, any technology is kind of, assisting humans, assisting their current work. Obviously, over the period of time, it can replace those people. But it's not like in the very first iteration, it will give you the 100% thing and it will start replacing the people. So that is one thing. And secondly, on the dashboarding side, yes, more or less, I'm too feeling like static dashboards are a bit of old concept now, because as you progress in your business, you can't keep on looking at the older KPIs. Like those KPIs were valid for you 6 months back. Maybe today, your business has taken a different turn and you might be looking at some other data points. So in today's term, the concept that is getting more prevalent is self-service BI. So where we are not creating the standardized dashboards for the people, but we are creating the standardized data sets for the people, and the business owners can drag and drop the KPIs, or they can create new KPIs, edit the previous KPIs without even writing a single line of code. So yes, the transition is happening towards that. But yeah, I mean, every company has their own journey. So it always depends upon which stage the organization is right now.
And last question, Ankush, where is your business going now? You've been doing this for a while. I don't know how many years. How many years you've been doing this? How many years?
So it's almost 7 years, Jan.
7 years. So what is the future ambition for DataToBiz?
So the future ambition, Jan, is pretty simple, I would say. So like right now, maybe we are targeting around 5 million to 10 million organizations in terms of revenue size. So eventually we want to target Fortune 500 customers. That's the end goal where we want to go. But the task we are doing for every organization is kind of same, where we want to empower the businesses in their data-driven decision making. Yes, problem statement, technology stack, implementation way, business problem statements can be different, but the core philosophy still remains the same. How we can, enable the people, enable the decision makers, looking at a different perspective in terms of taking their decisions. So that's what we are aiming as an organization right now.
Great stuff. Well, we're out of time, but if anybody wants to meet up with Ankush Sharma, he's going to be at the Generation Digital Magazine event, which is taking place on the 24th of October. So if you haven't got your tickets, get in touch, or I'm sure you'll have a link at the bottom of this message that we put out on social media. So Ankush, for now, thanks very much for your time for coming on the program.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you for having me, and thank you for this great, wonderful discussion.
Great stuff. Cheers for now.